Hello, Graham Roberts here. This is another one in the series of what I might call CRUD tutorials for PHP and MySQL. That's create, read, update and delete management of a database tables. Well, after you've created the database and after you've created the table, you want to read from it. In SQL, the verb, if you like, that we use is select. And what we're looking at here is an example of selecting a thing from the thing table. We can see that a list box has been created which shows, well, a list of things. In fact, there are 7 here, made by the create table, which I've shown in a previous video how to do. When I select something, let's say I select number 6, I click the button select a thing. It actually shows me what I selected, which was thing number 6. This is greater than it first appears in terms of power, because we have auto posted. That is, this form has called itself and has read the data that was in the form and shown us what it is. We could do things with that data, clearly, which might be much more significant than just displaying it, but we have actually read from the table what things are in it. It's true we're only looking at one field, but the principle applies to all the fields. You can't see the code behind this other than the HTML, which is here, which is not very informative and is not meant to be. So what is the actual code? Well, let's have a look at it. It's here in Notepad for us to view. Well, we start with a little bit of HTML, and that's probably, hopefully, self-explanatory. We then have a PHP tag for the scripts. We start the processing here, as indeed it says at line 10. We put in the style, we connect to our database, and we set up a table name, which is thing, and we issue our first, if I may call it, a command to SQL, a query, which this is the string for select everything from thing table. We actually create a result variable to hold in effect the record set, if any, that comes back from the query. The query is MySQLi. This is MySQL improved method for querying, and we have to pass 2 parameters to it. It expects the database connection link and the SQL string or command. Well, the first thing we have to do in this code is actually get the selected record. Now this actually reads wrong, and I apologize for that. I've just realized I've actually put in the wrong comment there. It was from a previous file which was actually inserting a record, so it should say something like get selected record. The variable I set up, first of all, is the thing ID variable. That holds the ID, or primary key, of the thing table. And it's posted, that is, it's captured by the post array, and the little @ sign there just means suppress warnings. I don't know how your system is set up, and I don't want to go over how to set up the PHP ini file, so I'm just putting that in so you don't get masses of warnings if your system is set up in a particular way, so it suppresses them. Because when this is read, first of all, post does not have anything like thing ID. It's a null array, or doesn't have anything in it, since it hasn't yet been filled. It's filled down here in the form, so we just suppress a warning there. The thing ID here is a name that's found down here in the form. So here's the form at line 20. Form action, select a thing from its table, which is in fact the name of this file, text file, and the method is post. Could have been get, but post is more secure and is, well, we don't use get really. So the table is created here, and we use some, let's call them columns for the moment. The thing ID column is the only one we're interested in. We do a query on the table, select everything from it, and we start a list box at line 25. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, a little bit more detail, but please notice that its name is thing. Thing is collected next at line 18, and its values are taken from the post array known as thing. The array is, in fact, we know, got 7 in it because we're going to put 7 things into it at line 26. We know it's 7 because we just saw it on the screen, and that's how many were created in another create script. The thing ID is collected here from thing ID, and thing ID is contained inside here. Select everything from the thing table. Now if you're eagle-eyed, you'll realize that I've got the thing ID, but I'm not doing anything with it. The reason I put it in is because usually you do something with it because it's the primary key. Here I don't need to use it for anything because all I'm doing is showing the values and not the IDs by which they may be referenced. But in practice you'll find you usually need to pick up and use the thing ID or the ID of the thing that you're looking at, the data you're manipulating. I don't use it here, but you will normally. So this is really the only thing I'm picking up, the thing itself. So let's come back to the notion of using a select box or a list box. I use HTML here, select name equals thing, and that really is just HTML. But I'm populating it, putting data into it using a for loop, and I'm using the row variable which gets itself a value from the result of the query, and it uses the MySQL fetch object to get it. The key part for a list box is really, well, there's 3 key parts. There's the first part, which is the name in line 25, and of course the third part would be the end of the select tag in line 31. But the one I've highlighted is line 29, where the data is put in to the list box. So there's an option, the value is $row, the thing field, and it's this value which is passed by post in the form here and collected via post at line 18. This part here is actually just for display, so the user can see it in a list, and we're talking about this in the white box actually. And at the end we have a reference to a menu, and we finally close the connection and we close the HTML. So this is actually a very simple script, or at least you'll see it's described as such, but actually there's quite a lot inside this script to think about if you're new to PHP and MySQL. You may have to play this tutorial several times to see what has actually happened in here to make this happen here. On this occasion I'm not showing you this actually running on my website, but if you look at the previous two tutorials I've done, you'll see a reference to that link where you can test it yourself. Oh, well, I see I've got a minute left, so I'll show it to you. Here it is at my website, and a little bit of the code, well, all the code is shown down here as well. You can have a look at that and maybe have a play with it yourself. Next, we really need to update a script, or a table rather, and so that's what we'll be looking at next.